Ready, Dave?
Yep.
Good evening and welcome to the January 17th meeting of the Plymouth Township Zoning Hearing Board. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Before we begin, the old mansion house at 641 East Elm Street is being continued until at least February 21st.
Yeah, it'll be re-advertised, the property will be posted, mailings will go out again. But yeah, right now it's till at least the February zoning hearing board.
So if anybody's here for that, you can leave because we're not hearing the case tonight. Before we begin on the actual cases, we have to reorganize. So I guess the first order of business is having a motion for chair. Do we have a motion for chair?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to keep you, Mike Medioni, as chair.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, do we have a motion for vice chair?
I'll move to name Dave Ramondo vice chair, or to continue as vice chair.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, do we have a motion for secretary?
I'll move for Dominic Caprilli to be secretary.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next, do we have a motion to name our solicitor?
I'll move to name the Dave Sander of Kilkenny Law to continue as solicitor.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And do we lastly have a motion to name our court reporter?
I'll make motion to name Paula.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank
Wait,
you.
was it Denise, and then who seconded?
Who seconded it?
Did he vote? I seconded.
Okay, got it.
Okay. All right, so the first case on the agenda tonight is 3133 Plymouth Rock Road. Mr. Sander?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Stephen Costa. Mr. Costa is requesting a variance from section 1908.1 of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance, seeking to allow a 12-foot by 18-foot shed where a maximum of 12-foot by 12-foot is allowed. And this is for property located at 3133 Plymouth Rock Road in a B, as in boy, residential zoning district.
The applicant here? Come on up. For the court reporter?
Okay.
Stan.
Stephen Costa,
Say it loud.
C-O-S-T-A.
Please raise your right hand. Having said your word, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
So explain to the board and the public here what you'd like to do.
Okay, so I have a family of, I have three, hopefully by tomorrow. My wife is due tomorrow. So,
Really?
So I have two girls, 2 daughters, and a boy on the way. I have a dog and a wife, and for those who can relate, we have a lot of stuff. We don't have an attic that is easily accessible to store anything. We have our utilities up there for air conditioning and heating. So there's no room to store anything up there. The garage that we do have, which is a 25 by 21 garage, we have reached the capacity of stuff in that garage. Between strollers, I have more than I ever imagined. Toys, lawn equipment, woodworking tools. We simply just outgrew that garage very quickly, and I need somewhere to put more equipment. Now, in my driveway, I drew out the minimum or the maximum 12 by 12 12 by 12 feet, square I did, and I put all the equipment that I could in that square, and it simply isn't large enough for everything I need to put in it. So, going off of our budget, I think a 12 by 18 will do us fine. So I'm hoping that I can be given that variance to allow for us to go slightly larger on that 12 by 12 allowed. We're still maintaining a very fair distance from all property lines, and that's all I have.
Ms. Pygott?
I know you say you're gonna be a fair distance. How far, what is the distance between the rear of your proposed shed and the rear property line?
So I have, from my garage to the property line, I have 37, yeah. That's about 37 feet from one to, from the back of my garage to that property line. So I'm looking to
For the depth?
space it, 21 feet off of my garage, and then that way I can leave that 4 feet off of that property line, which is actually Pico land. It's the power lines that go back there. So my yard looks a lot bigger than I come to find out after getting it surveyed. But nonetheless, we'd still be,
You still have enough?
yes, plenty, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
Mr. Daly?
Yeah, well, just curious about the need for a height exceeding the statutory limit of the shed, like 18 feet versus 12.
Say, what was the question?
Your request is for an 18-foot high shed.
No, in length, so 12
Length,
foot
sorry,
wide,
okay.
yeah, 18 length.
Gotcha, I understand.
Height, I'm not looking to go any higher than the 12, I don't even know.
12.
Yeah, 12.
Thanks, Mr. Costa, that was
Yep.
my mistake.
Yeah, that's it.
I apologize, I'm sorry. And the neighbors okay with you doing it?
Yes, yeah, I spoke to all of them, and we're very tight-knit.
Okay, I have no further
Yep.
questions then, thank you.
Mr. Aprile?
Do you have impervious calculations on this at all?
Well, the pad, is if that's what you're asking, the pad,
The total property, the impervious addness.
I don't have a total pervious.
Dave, have you looked at
I
that?
calculate it's fine.
That's fine, okay. And 25 by 21, isn't our code 24? Did they have to have a variance to get to 25 by 21?
I don't believe there's any history on this property for that, so it's probably a legal non-conforming use. It's 25 feet.
Okay, no more questions, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Ramondo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you currently park your cars in the garage?
I wish we could, but no, we do not.
It's full?
Yeah, it is. And I do a lot of woodworking, so I have tools that require so much space around it to actually work safely, operate them correctly.
And then what's
And I
this-
don't have that right
what-
now, so for me to use the tools that I need to, a lot of times I have to move all my stuff out of the garage to make some room.
So what's going in the shed, like lawnmower type of thing?
Yeah, all my lawn equipment. I want to put all that lawn equipment in the shed back there. Snow blower during the summer.
Right.
Get as much of my equipment further away, so that way I can leave more room for the strollers, the double strollers, the triple strollers, the joggers.
No further
So-
questions, thank you.
Will you have any utilities in the shed?
I currently do. When I purchased the property, it came with a little sub panel already in the garage.
No, in the
No
shed.
shed, the
Oh, in
proposed
the
shed.
proposed
shed,
shed.
I don't have any plans on putting any. No, I do not.
Okay. And you do your woodworking, you said, out of the garage?
I would like to, yes, get back into that. I haven't been able to since I've acquired more stuff, but
And more children.
yeah.
Okay, I have no further questions. Mr. Conroy, any questions?
I'll take some of my stuff.
No.
No, I have no further questions.
Mr. Sander?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very quickly, this is all proposed for personal use,
Yes,
correct?
correct, yep.
You're
No
okay,
business.
you'll be okay if the board grants you relief, you're okay with the condition that it not be used for any commercial
Absolutely.
purpose, also no residential
Correct.
use in that shed.
Correct.
Thanks.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak in opposition to this request? Is there anybody who'd like to speak in support of this request? Seeing no public comment, do we have a motion from the board?
I'll make a motion that we grant a variance from the township zoning ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 19, Section 1908.1, to allow a 12-foot by 18-foot shed where a maximum of 12 feet by 12 feet is allowed. The property is at 3133 Plymouth Rock Road in B Residential Zoning District.
Do you want to add the
Yes,
conditions?
we'll add the proviso from Mr. Sanders, no residential use,
And no commercial use?
no commercial use.
Do we have a second on the motion?
I second it.
Thank you. Let's have a vote. Ms. Pygott?
In favor.
Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Aprile?
In favor.
Mr. Ramondo?
In favor.
Chair votes in favor. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Good luck with the family, too.
Thank you.
You
Congratulations.
probably should get home.
I told her to hold off.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
The next,
Thank you, everybody.
thank you. Good night.
Good luck.
The next case is 3116 Jolly Road. Mr. Sander?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This application is the application of James P. Scopus. Scopus, correct? This is seeking relief from Section 1908G, as in giraffe 1. Mr. Scopus is seeking a variance to allow a shed to be located within the side yard of the property. This property is located at 3116 Jolly Road in a B residential zoning district.
Mr. Scopus, would you,
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give
I do. James Scopus, Scopis.
Mr. Scopus, tell the board and the public what you'd like to do.
Thank you. I live in the house at the end of this road, the tall gray house at the very end. I have a very unorthodox lot. It's super long and only about 115 feet wide, depending on where you measure it. We put a fence in, and we had applied for a permit to put the shed in. By the time the shed came around to actually being delivered, we had had a couple of nice rains, so we got to experience what it's like down there with some of the water. I included a photo in the back, I don't know if you saw it, but it's literally like a river in the back of my yard. At some point, we're gonna have to address that, and we've got some support from some of the neighbors, the state, highways, where they're looking at, what they wanna do about some of those issues now. But, anyway, so we have a, conforming 12 by 12 shed. It's a pretty nice shed. It's a $6,000 shed if it's built in. It just matches the house and everything else. And, but we couldn't put it where we originally planned, which was, within, 4 feet from the back fence line. So really here today to just get approval, if I could, to get, have it put, have it on the side of the house, at the very corner of where we put our fence, which is about halfway down our property line. We own all the way down to the intersection of Jolly Road and Township Line Road. But we're nowhere near we're right before the woods there. It's inside our white fence, privacy fence. That's it.
Okay.
Back up to the turnpike, right, Mr. Scopus?
I do, yeah, the house does, the property does.
Right, okay.
So, Ms. Pygott, any questions?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. When I was driving by your house, I noticed a shed. Is that the exact position where you want
Yes,
to
ma'am.
keep it?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah. It's 4 feet from my fence, which is, it's even with the front of the house. And it's about 5 feet, and 5 feet from the back, so they want to keep it. Why we chose that particular piece after we started to get into constructing is, it's the only place where there's a flat spot that's as farthest away from the house.
Okay. And you said 4 feet from that far?
It's actually
left
probably
end?
closer to 5 feet away from my back and front side of the fence.
Okay.
Yeah. The yard pitches down like this as you go back towards it, and hence that swell where the water is.
Yeah, I know you don't have a lot of depth.
No, because we had to stick to, compliance with the fence not being any further forward than the front line of the house, so leaves us a little bit restricted, but
Thank you, that's
Yeah, of
all.
course. even from the back of the house to the state line is probably only about 20 or 25 feet in total. And that includes, a deck that's out there that was built when the house was new and so forth. So, you're right, there isn't a lot of room from that point of view.
Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Scopus, we're talking about the existing shed, right? So it's really just keeping
We
what's
had it
already
in-
there.
Yeah, we had it installed in April.
Okay.
I called Dave to come out and do the final inspection. He says, it looks great, except you gotta move it.
Uh,
It was a pretty scary day.
Okay.
But yes, sir, it's there.
Okay, all right. Are your neighbors okay with it? Any issues?
Everybody's fine. I know I got a couple of my neighbors here today. Quite frankly, we've tried to do what we can to really add to the community more than anything else. So-
Yeah,
so.
okay. No more questions, thank you.
Mr. Aprile?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is that shed located on the corner, the back corner now?
It's on the front corner of, so if this was the house, this is the front of the house, and the fence goes out.
Right.
This is the backyard.
All right,
It's right here.
okay. So how much, if you gotta move it, you just gotta move it back, right?
I'd have to move it quite a bit, and I'd have to do a whole bunch of grading, and I really couldn't with the water problem that's there now. It would just eventually erode.
Is that the highway dumping into the ground, into your lot?
I don't think. Yeah. I
Hold
don't
on.
think-
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily just the highway. There's multiple components. So first of all, as Jim was mentioning, there was an original stream that was back there that was kind of, I guess, built up in some sort of plumbing, whatever, way back when they moved the highway, moved Jolly Road forward, is what I'm being told from the original owners, across the street. But there's another issue with the builder, in my opinion, and I'm, dealing with the builder on this. If you really look at the property next time you go by, you would think that most houses would be kind of built up and then everything would slope away from it. That's really not exactly how that property was graded, and, quite frankly, we just didn't pick up on it during the initial home inspection. So I think there's really a lot to do to get it right. I think the least expensive way, if I have to deal with it myself without any support from the state, is to trench, a French drain back there, gravel, silt pipe, gravel, and have it travel down. So,
Okay. No more questions, thanks.
we don't go ice skating on it just yet.
Mr. Armando?
No questions, thank you.
Just couple of questions. You're gonna have utilities in there?
No,
And you're gonna run a business out of it?
no,
And use it for no residential use?
no, just snow blower, lawnmower, wheelbarrow, that kind of stuff.
I have no further questions. Mr. Conroy, anything else?
No further.
Mr. Sander?
Quickly, Mr. Scopes, is the ordinance requires that it be 10 feet behind the furthest rear. Is the shed actually even with the front facade of the house?
It's a little bit behind the front. The fence line is even with the front.
Oh, okay, so you're 5 feet off then.
Yeah, give or take.
So
5
so you're
feet.
5 feet back from the front line of the house?
Right.
Okay.
The drawing doesn't really show where it is. It's back a little bit.
It's back a little bit from that point,
So if you
okay.
want on that
Yeah,
lot.
I'm just looking sort of to get the extent of the relief that's necessary. So 10 feet would bring you up to the rear, and then you're all but 5 feet up to the front.
If I went 10 feet from where I am now, it'll put me about mid-width of the house, depth of the house.
Okay,
But remember, the back of my yard, I only have about 20, maybe 25 feet at max from the back of the house before I hit the state chain link fence that delineates the state property from mine.
right.
So even if I was trying to conform without the issues with the water, I think it'd be pretty difficult to actually comply.
Just to
Gotcha.
expound on that, there really is like only one spot you could really put it in, and that's basically where all the water's flowing right now.
No further questions, thank you.
Sure. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak in support of this application?
Yeah, I will.
Come on and let the court reporter swear you in, state your name and
Okay.
address.
James Pritz, P-R-I-T-Z, 3117 Jolly Road.
Thank you.
I live directly across the street.
Raise
Do
your
I,
hand.
yes,
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, he's right, right? I even have the original map of the house. I've lived there for 35 years, right? And I do have a map of the original plan, and there was a creek there, right? He's in a bad situation, right? As far as when the state came in and expanded the highway, they about destroyed the back end of that place, and there was a tunnel at that point that went under the turnpike that fed a pond on the other side of the highway, which is still there, but they filled a lot of the stuff in. So he's in a, and realistically, I have no problems with where he has it positioned right now. In fact, to me, it makes the property look like completed, because he's this way and that way. It's the only way he can go. That's all I have.
And you're right across the street.
Yes, I'm directly across the street from him.
So you would be the most impacted, and you look at it. And
Myself and my next door neighbor, who happens to be the last original owner of the home,
Right.
Mr. Candelori, and he has no problem. But he's a little old to be here tonight. He's 97.
Well, thank
But
you.
still going strong.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to comment on this application?
I can comment.
Sure, come on up and,
Yes, one.
oops, watch yourself.
Carolyn Nichols,
Say the last name.
Nickels.
Nichels?
Nickels.
Oh, Dick, okay. And you're,
Name, please, name, do you solemnly swear or affirm
Carolyn?
the testimony about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I am familiar with that water issue in the back, because I'm on the same side of the road as Jim is, and we also are getting a flooding problem from the turnpike runoff at this point. I was not familiar about the previous stream that was there, so that was a little news tonight. But as far as where the shed is placed now, it really does make the house look balanced, because the way it's laid out, it's kind of funky. It's more wider than it is deep. So, I mean, none of us on the street have any opposition to getting this approved.
And you're 31?
3110.
3110. Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, well, thank you. Anybody else? All right, well, seeing no further comment, do we have a motion?
I'll be happy to make a motion to grant a variance from Township Zoning Ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 19, Section 1908.G.1 to allow a shed located within the side yard of the property located at 3116 Jolly Road in a B residential zoning district. And I guess we put in a proviso, no commercial use or a residential use.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Vote, roll call vote, Ms. Pagat,
In favor.
Mr. Daly,
In favor?
Mr. Aprilli,
In favor?
Mr. Raimondo.
In favor.
The chair votes in favor. Good luck. I mean, that is a mess back there. I have
Well, we're trying
seen
to
it.
add to the neighborhood and not detract from it, so thanks to Dave, he's been super helpful in guiding us through this all, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
19 Red Rowan Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Logan Dry. Mr. Dry is requesting a variance from Section 502D, as in dog, of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance to allow a 17-foot rear yard setback where a minimum of 30 feet is required. Property is located at 19 Red Rowan Lane in the A residential zoning district.
Thank you. Logan. Wanna-
Sure. My name is Logan Dry. Last name is Peter Wise.
You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So hi, my name's Logan Dry. I'm the homeowner and the architect of the project. So this is my personal house. You'll have a packet in front of you that has some pictures. It's mainly just to show the floor plans on the inside as well as just sort of the condition of the house when I bought it versus where it is today. The zoning plan, you'll see that I drafted up. All dimensionally compliant, use compliant. The only reason why I'm here is because what we're seeking to do is add a small addition on the back of the house as well as a second story on top of the existing garage. So you'll see by the site plan, in this neighborhood, every corner is a series of these wedge-shaped lots, and the houses are turned 45 degrees on that wedge, which is great. There's a nice big front yard and everything else like that. It's just when you get to the back, there's a really small setback until you actually get to the back property line. So if you see what we have here, one of the unique scenarios that my house has, the existing garage that was built there in probably the 70s. Probably when the zoning code was a little bit different, but I can't guarantee it. The existing garage was built in the 70s, is already past that minimum 30-foot rear yard setback. So we sort of started this whole process wanting to add a master suite on top of the garage, planning for the future. I work from home, so we wanted to have a space within the rest of the house that could be used as a playroom, as a den. So as a result of that, we needed some more space up top because one of the houses, one of the two models of houses in the neighborhood, this is one that only had one bathroom in it. So we wanted the additional, bathroom and actually like a formal master suite. So we started sort of that planning process, and then we found out that, even if we just built on top of the garage, we were already past that rear yard setback. So, the more we looked at it, sort of looked at our needs with like storage of lawn equipment and the third car, I wanted to take the opportunity to extend the garage a little bit further in the back so we could double park two of the cars, one of which is a project car that I have that, isn't a daily driver, but I like to keep it in the garage. So we figured it would make sense to extend it back a little bit. And then the primary addition of the actual master suite is staying on the same footprint that the existing garage is. So again, we thought it was a pretty modestly sized addition on top. And then again, we just want to kind of make it our forever house and just have that additional bit of storage, the home office space, and then again, that third bay for the car. And we took this approach to the design because I didn't want to build out to the front, which I had room to do. It would just look weird if you extended it out towards the front yard, because then the other houses extend out towards the front. So, we decided to push back because I also didn't want to push out towards the street anymore on the side. So really just because of the shape of the lot and, what we want to do there, we're asking for this minimal variance for that yard setback size. And again, if you look through the floor plans, if you have any questions, feel free. Design the plans, and I'm an architect, so I can answer with some degree of technicality, but obviously the expert codes out here.
So, Ms. Pygott?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Logan, on the new second floor addition proposal, I see you have the master bedroom, master bath, and is that a room adjacent to that, or is that a closet? Is that going to be a closet?
Yeah, so if you're looking at it like this,
It's right down the street.
The existing bedrooms is what you see here, the hallway extends up. So
Yeah.
when you walk into that master suite portion above the garage, you've got the bathroom over on your left side,
Yeah.
and then a walk-in closet over on your right
On the
side.
right? Mhm.
And then that extension sort of in the leftmost side is just a terrace over top of that bump out on the ground floor for the garage.
A terrace? Oh, so you'll have like a
A
door
little bit of outdoor space right outside of the master.
right outside the master?
Yeah. We figured since we had the roof, it made sense to keep a little bit of outdoor space up there too.
Right, okay. And what's the little area next to the, I guess that's still part of the terrace. There's a line. But that's,
Yeah, so
that's still
the-
part of the terrace.
Yeah, the dash line that you see is just a slight covering over top, and then the portion down towards below, this is the one-story addition below. So we didn't do a terrace over top of the whole ground floor, just the part of it.
So approximately how many square feet are you looking to add just on that above the garage? What is that?
Yeah, above the garage is about 24 by 24 feet,
Okay.
so a decent size. I wouldn't call it huge, but, certainly enough. It's better than what we're working with, which is, 3 bedrooms and just the 1 bath. And they were all kind of a little bit smaller, but that was, again, based on when the house was designed.
Right.
Obviously, people had less stuff, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dye, how long, or how much will the new additions encroach on the existing rear yard setback? About 10 feet?
Yeah, so right now at the smallest point on the site plan, the very smallest yard dimension, 17 feet. But it varies because it's not at a right angle with that setback line. The smallest portion would be 17 feet. So yeah, we're about 15 feet past.
And your neighbors, question. Are your neighbors supportive of what you're doing?
Yeah, we talked to some of the immediate neighbors.
Yeah.
Nobody seemed to have any problem with it.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Aprile?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple questions on your layout here and the variances. You have an existing non-conforming legal, is that what you have now?
Yeah, the garage, if you look, is technically like 3 feet over that, what the yard setback is supposed to be.
27,
Yeah.
right? The other side's 21? Both sides have to be 30?
I don't have a...
This thing? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I have a reduced size version of that. I think when the zoning review was done, that's not considered a rear, that was considered a side.
That's the side.
So like the house, for instance, the primary frontage would be on Red Row, and then the secondary frontage was on Wayne, so that secondary frontage was considered a side.
Got it, okay. So now, when you put your addition on, you're going to jet out to the back, 16 and a half, looks like?
Correct.
And that's going to make your variance go from 27 to 17. That's going to make your side yard, or backyard, what are we looking at? Backyard here, right? Or side yard? Backyard.
So the actual side yard dimension didn't change. It's still a rear in that scenario.
Right, so instead of having 27 feet, now you're going to have 17.
Correct. Yep.
So that's the new variance request, right?
Yes.
17 instead of 30. But you have 27 instead of 30, and it's already
Correct. For the
non-conforming, and it's approved, right? Or the
Well,
builder
so-
must have did that,
Well,
right?
so when they built it in the 70s, I don't know if they pulled permits for the garage or not, but our thing was if we built on top of it, if we wanted it to be by right, we'd have to like build everything but like that little corner on the garage. Like if we were to build right on top of it, because the garage is non-conforming,
okay.
our second
Okay.
floor would be non-conforming.
And you're just coming out on the first floor, and the second floor is your deck,
Yep.
over that extra 16 feet.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, no more questions, thank you.
Mr. Armando?
Just confirming, you're gonna put 3 cars in that garage?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. What's the empty room here that's not labeled?
Is that on the second floor there?
Yeah. Is that a bathroom?
Yeah, so that was just me sort of, I have a working file for the whole house in CAD, but, so if you look and see these 2 bedrooms and beyond, that's the existing house, so it's bedroom, 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 and that's the bathroom that's upstairs.
Okay, yeah.
So like all 3 of these rooms, we've done, some furniture and work on the inside, so I drew them up, but I never do the bathroom, so they
Got
do
it.
anything to that one.
Yeah, just confirm. No, that's good. No further questions. Thank you.
They're proposing this, and this, and then, oh, I see the line, okay.
And down there, too.
Oh, right now.
No further questions.
No further questions? Thank you, Mr. Armando. So basically, if you wanted to do any kind of an addition, even building to the exact footprint you'd have today, you'd be looking at a variance.
Pretty much, and that's, we looked at different options of doing stuff that hugged the property line, but because it was such a severe angle, it basically rendered any sort of room kind of useless on the ground floor. But we still had the issue of, even if we didn't do that, we still had an issue of the corner of whatever we build on top of the garage technically being non-conforming.
I think that, even if you could have that triangular thing, and then you could do a funny thing in the backyard and move around, and it would definitely not fit in terms of, what's around in the neighborhood. But I think the biggest problem in this is something we've seen in this neighborhood a lot, and that is the zoning of it is residential, and it just
Should be big.
It should really be a B residential zoning district, so if that were the case, we probably wouldn't be talking about any variances at all. It just happens to be A residential, so. Beyond that, I have no further questions. Mr. Conroy, any questions?
No, this neighborhood should be a B residential neighborhood.
Mr. Sanders?
No questions.
Right, that's what I mean. The whole thing, it's an A zoning, but A doesn't fit the
Passes
neighborhood.
B, right, doesn't pass A.
So it doesn't make sense. Anyway, sorry about that, Mr. Sander.
No questions, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak in regard to this application? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'll move to grant a variance from the Zep Township zoning ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 5, Section 502.d, to allow a 17-foot rear yard setback where a minimum of 30 feet is required for the property located at 19 Red Rowan Lane in A residential district.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's have a vote. Ms. Pygott?
In favor.
Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Aprile?
In favor.
Mr. Armando?
In favor.
Chair votes in favor. Good luck.
Good luck, looks
Thank you
nice.
very much.
He's done a great job on the house
Yeah.
so far.
Very
Really nice.
Yeah.
Work in progress still, but.
Thank you.
I can't wait
It
to
was
see the
funny when I
project.
posted your property,
Yeah, I'm
I
looking
was
to see- yeah, I can't wait to
19
see
on their
it.
house, and like an architect.
They just-
I could tell just by the font of the 19.
Well, a lot of people get confused because like they'll look on maps and it's still pink.
Right,
And
okay.
they're like,
I got you.
Yeah, I even had a neighbor come over and ask where we got the letters from, because they like the
Right,
letters so
letter
much. I was
sandwich.
like, I don't know who bought them all to ask.
All right. Citizens Bank, 202 Ridge Pike.
There's a 30-day appeal period.
just leave them up there.
Come on
No, you
down.
can take them down,
Okay.
throw them out, whatever, have them in the back. And then you can apply for your permits. Yep. Yep.
Thanks.
Have a go.
Take an appeal on it.
Bye-bye.
No,
Who seconded that motion?
Denise.
Okay.
Denise.
Are we just doing Brian Denise all night?
Motion twins, power active.
They're on a roll.
All right, Citizens Bank.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Tracy Deal on behalf of Citizens Bank. This is an application for a variance from section 1601, point capital D as in dog, point 2, point small c as in cat, to allow 234.43 square feet of signage where a maximum of 120 square feet is allowed. This property is located at 202 Ridge Pike in the shopping center zoning district.
Michaela Nolan, NGOUN.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you.
Could I get your first name?
Michaela
M-I?
is MAKAYLA.
I'm glad I asked. And the last name is N-G-O-U-N? Thank you, great, thank you.
And you are here,
I'm here on behalf of Brixmore, the ownership group.
they're the owner of the property. Okay, just want to make sure we have it here.
This is Brixmor from Conshohocken, Brixmor.
Yes.
B-R-I-X-M-O-R.
Yes.
Yes, okay, I know that, I know.
They're actually now in that shopping center.
Oh, okay.
That's
There you
the
go.
big construction Dave and I were talking about.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, anyway, sorry about that.
No, you're
What
fine.
what would you like to do here?
Okay, so Citizen Bank is actually removing the word bank from their name because they're now offering additional services. So we are trying to update all of the signs. Federal regulations require consistency in the bank's branding, and that signs at all of the Citizens locations should be changed and be the same. So here, the three major signs that would be considered quote-unquote new would be the pole sign, which is 50.16 square feet and 15 feet in height. It's going to be placed in the same location as the existing sign, and to include both sides, it's 100.3 square feet. The channel letter wall sign on the south elevation is 41.9 square feet, and that reads Citizens, along with another channel letter set on the east elevation that is 26.82 square feet, which also reads Citizens. The additional elements would include a door vinyl that reads the branch name and the hours, the drive-through window vinyl that reads Citizens, a replacement canopy and replacement ATM surround, a night deposit box, a drive-through ATM 24-hour machine topper that reads Citizens, directional signs which will replace existing ones, additionally, parking lot directionals which are 4.58 square feet. There are 2 of those, and awnings over the windows, which are a total of 3.
Good. Question for Mr. Conroy. On the bank, does that decorative thing count as part of the sign?
Above the word citizens?
Yeah, see that?
Yes, yep, the whole green area.
So on all of them, you have that extra area. Okay, sorry about that.
Does anyone have any questions? I want to say one more thing that I just realized. This bank, actually, when you look it up on the GPS, it shows up as the shopping center. However, this bank is in no way connected or drivable through the shopping area. So that's why we're asking for these signs to ensure better flow of traffic, less traffic potentially going to the residential area if they miss that turn. But also if someone's turning into the shopping center, that also adds additional traffic because they can't get to the bank through the shopping center.
How many total signs are there?
Quite a few.
Because I don't see like a sign 2, sign 12.
A lot of them, I believe, are like vinyl signs that aren't really counted.
It's a total of 20 overall,
Yeah.
including the
19, I
window
see.
signs and the awnings.
This is the big one.
Yeah.
Facing that. Then you got the big one over here.
Hey, Dave, if we
Then you
wrap,
got the
if
little
they
one
wrap a
here.
window, that's not considered a sign?
No.
Then the one in the back. You know, all over the place.
Yeah. But so there's a total of 20 signs?
Yes.
Okay.
That includes all of the awnings, the signage on ATM, night deposit box, window vinyl.
And all of that square footage has been calculated into equaling the 234.43?
I believe not all of them, because the window vinyls, they wouldn't be counted against that, correct?
No, I calculated them. It literally threw my mind into mush trying to calculate it. I just have to ask you to trust me when I came up with that number. That's all I'm going to say. We went back and forth like 6 months ago for it seemed like a month or 2 trying to calculate this. So the number that's in the ad is correct. That's all I'm going to say. To explain it right now, we would be here another hour. That's all.
Nail 4 sides of the ATM.
Oh, I see, each lane, I see, okay.
See, that's why you get so many.
Right.
Sorry about that. Ms. Paga, do you have any questions?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just one question. The main sign, the citizens sign that you're proposing to put up, is that going to be lit? I don't believe so, but it will be illuminated. It would comply with all code regulations. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the light's not going to be, it might be illuminated, but it would be kinetic or anything like that, like not a lot of moving.
No, it wouldn't. It would all comply with code regulations. The channel letters additionally are internally illuminated, which would comply.
Okay. And I noticed that in examining the background, said the light fixture above the night drop is going to be removed. I guess that's not really germane, but how will the drop be illuminated?
Give me 1 second while I pull it up. I don't believe that there would be a light fixture there. However, if there was, I don't have any knowledge of the light fixture being replaced.
Okay. Is there, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But I can say it wouldn't have any signage on it.
Okay. There wouldn't be any issue with people trying to find it or anything? There's
No, I don't
sufficient
believe
lighting
so.
for that?
There's proper directional signs in the area, as well as lights within parking lot.
Is that around the corner from, or is that on the same lateral surface as the ATM?
Correct.
It's on the same lateral
Yes.
surface, okay. Any issues from any of the neighbors, businesses, or any residents behind it?
None that I'm aware of.
Okay. No further questions, thank you.
Mr. Aprile.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first question I have is this just for the Citizens Bank lot, or is this for the whole shopping center?
This is just for the Citizens Bank lot.
So we're not giving the shopping center a variance on signs? Because I think we might have already did
They
that.
did that, yeah, for drop-off.
Yeah, there's separate, it's technically part of the shopping center, Brixmore owns it. But for standalone buildings, in the shopping center district, it has separate sign regulations. That's why they're here.
Okay. And then the pylon sign. Do you know how that's changing in size?
It should be relatively the same exact, are you talking about height-wise? Or,
The square footage size. I mean, we're calculating square foot here.
right.
So
I
now you
understand.
got a Citizens that goes sideways. You got to count the whole thing. In the old sign, you got a smaller pylon and a big sign on the top, right? And you count all of that also. I'm just curious, what's the difference in sizes?
So actually, I don't have the dimensions of the existing sign. However, if you really want to know, I can call my boss and she may know. But as far as on the plans, that is what I go by, and I do not have any knowledge of exactly what the square footage may be. However, looking at it, based on my prior experience, I mean, I would say maybe this sign is, if that, 10 square feet bigger. It's not that much bigger, it's just counted, it's sideways. It's really hard to count and decide which sign is bigger if I don't have the exact measurements.
I would say this sign is a little bit bigger, just because the existing pylon sign, we only count the top of it, we're not counting the actual pole.
We're not counting the pole.
On the existing sign.
Okay. And then I'm thinking of, you're close to the highway here, this is a high accident area. Now you're gonna have a big, is that whole thing right up now?
The sign, the
Yeah.
pole sign?
The Citizen sideways.
As far as my knowledge goes, it shouldn't be illuminated. However, if it is illuminated, it'll comply with all of the code regulations, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Well, yeah, I understand that lingo. But we're talking about, you're asking for a variance. So if we say yes, then you're allowed to light it up. That's why I'm asking, is it gonna be lit or not?
I can call my boss to verify, but as far as the plans say, the plans don't state that it's illuminated.
Okay. And it's the same distance from the highway?
Yes, it's in the same exact location
Okay.
as the existing one.
You had said something about federal regulations require this. Can you elaborate on that, please?
So with the name being changed from Citizens Bank to Citizens, all of the banks that are Citizens their signage has to be updated in order to follow that. So all of the citizen banks in the United States all of their signs are being updated to just say Citizens.
But it has nothing to do with the size of the signs.
No,
That's not a federal regulation.
no.
Just the name of the sign is a federal
That's
regulation. Okay, no more questions.
Mr. Armando.
Just start out with a fun fact. Last month, there was a gentleman from the neighborhood behind here. Just wanted to know what was going on.
Right.
So just, feel free to communicate with them guys if you want. Just letting you know he was here with some interest.
Oh, okay.
So that's all. He just wanted to know what was going on. He seemed okay with it, but he was interested. That's all. I'm letting you know that. My question is, as far as like the consistent branding, do your other stores have the same amount of signage? Like, is it an equation per branch, or are they all different?
So this building is a little bit unique because it only has that entrance from the front roadway. However, I will say I have been to a couple of variances for Citizens Bank, and every Citizens has had this pole sign as well as familiar signage, or similar.
So what we're doing here today is consistent with what you're doing in Jersey and all the other areas?
That's correct.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Sid, question about the sign, the new sign that you're going to put on the front.
Right.
And I don't know if that's what Denise asked about, but is that sign going to be illuminated?
That sign will be illuminated,
So the sign up top.
correct, the wall sign.
And you don't know about the other sign that Mr. Aprile asked about?
Correct. I can call someone and verify if they really want to know about the pole sign.
Do you
But
know,
as far as the plans say, the plans do not state that the sign is illuminated.
and do you know if this sign will turn off after the bank closes, or?
It'll follow any ordinances as far as dark skies, any regulation that states, it'll just follow code.
Well, you don't have anything. You're saying right now that you're volunteering, saying, hey, it'll close, it'll turn off when the bank closes.
I cannot for sure say that. I can call someone,
No,
but
that's fine, just one,
It does say on one of the drawings that the sign will be illuminated, one centered on the canopy. Channel letters, white illuminated horizontal raceway. At the top of page 6 of 23.
yes, I see that, and that's, and she confirmed that it would be illuminated. I was just asking, would it be turned off at night or anything, and
so these
she does not
plans,
know.
actually, they very rarely are specifying the exact specifications of illumination because each municipal town, city, county, whatever it may be, they all have different regulations.
Okay, I have no further questions. Mr. Conroy, any questions?
No, I have nothing further.
Mr. Sander?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's your position with Brixmor?
We are actually subcontracted as
Okay.
an expediter.
As what?
An expediter?
As an expediter? Okay. And I'm sure this is probably the most important question of all tonight, out of all the applications. Will Citizens Bank Park be renamed Citizens Park?
I don't have any knowledge of that.
I was going to ask that, Dave.
But if it is, it'll comply with the ordinance.
It's a federal regulation.
I'm tongue-in-cheek on that last one. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's a good question.
I mean, wouldn't you think if they're changing the name, it's going to be Citizens
There has to
Park?
be a banking license in there.
You can't call it the bank anymore.
Great.
Yeah. Any public comment? There's nobody here from the public to comment, so I want that on the record. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant a variance from the Township zoning ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 16, Section 1601.D.2.C, to allow 234.3 square feet of signage, where a maximum of 120 square feet is allowed at the property at 202 Ridge Pike in a shopping center zoning district.
Can we add a caveat to that about
Condition, yes.
condition? We don't know about the pylon, so if it gets illuminated, it gets shut off at 8 o'clock at night. Is that reasonable?
Or whatever our ordinance is. Do we have an ordinance?
We don't,
Yeah, I would just say comply with the.
well, we could set a time.
You could set a time.
You may set a
That's
time,
big.
Don.
That's a big sign, and it's right near the road there, and there's a lot of high accident area there.
So if you want to have an 8 PM shut-off time, that's fine.
Does that work for you? 8 o'clock?
I am writing that down. I will pass it along.
You want to call your boss?
Think about it.
I don't think it's necessary. I think they'll be happy. I think they'll be happy getting all of the signage.
As far as I'm concerned, it's just the pylon sign.
Just the pylon sign, none of the others matter that
Yeah.
much? Okay. Anything further? Do we have a second on the motion as amended?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, let's have a vote. Ms. Pagat?
In favor.
Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Aprile?
In favor.
Mr. Armando?
In favor.
The chair votes in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
We're adjourned.